All right, video 3, we're going to talk about the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and its role in accounting and auditing. The purpose of the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, is to assist in providing investors with reliable information upon which to make investment decisions. So the SEC's role is to really oversee all those companies that are traded on the stock exchange. And again, we learned in the last video that the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board is actually the one that oversees and makes the rules that those companies that are traded on the stock exchange have to follow. And they do the inspections, but they report to the SEC. At any time if the SEC feels like the PCAOB is not doing their job, they can step in and circumvent the PCAOB. The SEC was created after the Great Depression. The Securities and Exchange Act of 1933 and 34, you know, the Great Depression happened in the late 20s, early 30s. And so as a result of the Great Depression, just like as a result of Enron and WorldCom, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act was passed as a result of the Great Depression. The Securities and Exchange Acts of 1933 and 1934 were enacted, which created the SEC in the first place. The two acts both impact publicly traded companies, those companies traded on the stock exchange. And the Act of 1933 requires that most companies planning to issue new securities to the public to submit a registration statement to the SEC for approval. So any companies that have not priorly been trading on the stock exchange, those companies that are privately held up to a certain point, they get large enough that eventually they want to go public. And so you'll hear the term IPO, initial public offering is what that stands for. So whenever a company that was previously privately held wants to be traded on the stock exchange, they have to file some paperwork with the SEC as a result of this 1933 Securities Act. And it consists of some legal paperwork, an audit, some pro forma financial statements, those types of things. So Securities and Exchange Act of 1933, any new companies that want to be traded on the stock exchange has to submit some paperwork to the SEC to become approved. Then once they're approved, then the SEC Act of 1934, the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 comes into play. And it says that companies that are already trading on the stock exchange have to annually submit reports to, I should say at a minimum annually. A lot of times they have to also submit quarterly reports. At a minimum annually, they have to report a detailed annual report, which is basically just like the audited financial statements. They have to have an audit of their company done by one of the large CPA firms that is registered with the PCAOB. They have to be competent in doing an audit of a large company like that that's traded on the stock exchange. So they have to, those CPA firms that do audits of publicly traded companies, they have to be registered with the PCAOB saying, yes, they are competent enough, we have looked at them, and they are entitled to do audits of publicly traded companies. So at least annually, and like I said, a lot of times they also have to file quarterly reports, but at least annually, and usually by March 15th, because if their year end is December 31st, if the company's year end is December 31st, the annual report has to be filed with the SEC by March 15th. So it has to be done pretty quickly at year end. Here are some of the forms that you may have heard if you listen to any of the financial news channels. 10K is the most prevalent. That is the annual report that has to be filed with their annually audited financial statements. And we're actually going to look at some 10Ks of some companies with a group project that we're going to do. Form S1 applies to new securities. So that's the form that would be filed with the SEC when a privately held company wants to go public. Form 8K reports significant events that are of interest to the public investors. So if there's anything significant that happens within a company that's publicly traded, they have to report that to the SEC because, again, the SEC is there to prevent something like the Great Depression happening again. So anything that general investors might need to know might need to be reported on that Form 8K. And again, the Form 10K is filed annually, usually within 60 to 90 days of the company's year end. So typically that's sometime in March. But not all companies have a year end, a December 31st year end. Sometimes their fiscal year ends in June. And so if that's the case, then July, August, they would have to report to the SEC by September. And then Form 10Q is filed quarterly by all public companies, and it's basically a quarterly report. It's still audited. They still have to be audited. The quarterly reports that are filed, the 10Q, but the 10K is the one that's the annual audited financial statement, the big audit that's done at year end. So that's the SEC's role, not rule. The SEC's role in accounting and auditing. And again, these rules only apply to those publicly traded companies, those companies that are traded on the stock exchange. Any small privately held, I keep saying small, but privately held companies aren't always small. Like I said, with the instance of the tobacco company. Any privately held company also typically has to be audited if they have investors outside of the family, or one of their investors requires an audit, or they have a loan that is large enough with the bank that requires an audit. So those are the things that we're dealing with privately held companies. Okay, so that's the SEC.